Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Top Cult. I'm Kyle Davis of Eco Action Network fame.
And I'm Becky Lynch. All white women with this hair color who are verified on Twitter are Becky Lynch.
Tonight, you're invited to a very special Top Cult dinner party where we explore 8 different movies, but all with a common thread.
And after all is said and done, we put our money where our mouth is and put ourselves in the hot seat. Courtesy of High River Sauces.
So stick around. Our pain, endurance, and 8-movie meltdown is all coming up next, right here on Top Cult. Cheers, please.
Cheers, baby.
That was a very dirty boy. Now, you may find us sipping on martinis in our evening gown and 3-piece suit because the concept for today, for this Top Cult dinner party, is 8 movies, count them, 8, where the common thread is some kind of dinner games torture party where people are forced to maim or kill each other. Now, it started out as more of a solid concept, and after all the movies that we started including, it kind of started to widen and bend a bit more. So in some way or another, all these movies kind of connect, and when you watch 8 of them in a row, they all start to become the same exact movie. And this is sometimes good, sometimes bad, depending on whether you have a tolerance or a guilty obsession with watching people try to work together, but then inevitably fall apart and hurt each other.
You have to die.
No, I want to live!
Now, the movies we found ourselves endlessly watching with no end in sight are
My Little Lie.
Bitter Feast,
Hunger.
The Perfect Host,
Vile.
Would You Rather,
Among Friends.
Cheap Thrills. And I would say, why don't we start with the first one?
Yeah, let's just dig in. So, cheers to My Little Lie.
Cheers to My Little Lie, one of the earliest movies on our list before an enormous block of movies that have all come out in 2013
Yeah.
for some strange reason.
So this is a flick from
Say something, I'm giving up on you.
2002. I don't think it gets a lot of attention. The reason why I remembered it while we were kind of going through our, what's a dinner party torture movie? You know, we went back and forth trying to figure out what movies we were going to cover for this episode. And this one kind of came back to me and I didn't quite remember it. And that's kind of where our theme started getting a little blurry because this isn't, well, I like Puddle of Mud, so I want to say blurry. Oh God, I could not say that with a straight face. This one I couldn't quite remember, and it just stuck in my head because I knew it was a group of people who eventually turned on each other for some reason.
Which I feel fits
I think
into
it fits.
the eventual theme of all the movies that we chose.
Right. It's not a perfect fit.
It's not a perfect circle either.
Yeah.
Imagine there's no heaven. It's easy if you try.
Remember post-grunge? So this one revolves around a group of people who are on a reality show. They apply online to be a part of this group that lives in a house in the middle of nowhere. And if they all manage to stay in it for a certain amount of time, they all win, I think, $1 million each. It's a high prize, and they all have to stay indoors and just, essentially submit to cabin fever.
Now, if I remember correctly, they all have to make it through to the end,
They
or
all have to
nobody
make it
gets
through,
the
or
money.
nobody gets the money. So basically everything's
Score one for
hunky
my memory. That
dory.
is not a sentence I get to say often.
Yeah. Which we'll kind of start to test as this episode goes on. Let's just say from this point forward, there are going to be massive spoilers for every movie that's listed.
Yes.
I can't see myself ever doing one of these episodes where I don't talk at length with spoilers, because I don't feel like I can discuss things and fully send out my opinion.
There's too much
without doing
limiting,
that.
and at the end of it, when you really look back, you've said nothing.
Yeah.
You're like, oh, I liked it. And that's all I can say. Like, comment, subscribe. Like, yeah,
Yeah.
no.
So,
Not for us.
Top Cult is
Top Cult
just
is
spoiler
spoiler
warning
heavy.
forever.
Hell yeah.
Spoiler warning forever. So, so everything's hunky-dory in this house up until I think it's like the last month, something like that. And then weird things start happening and things get mailed to the house that kind of throw people off. And one of the examples is this guy thinks that his grandfather has passed away and he's going to miss the funeral. And one of the other group members is adamant that it's the producers just fucking with them, trying to make them drop out at the last minute so that they don't have to pay these people $1 million.
Yeah, and sometimes they really fuck with them by like making Oscar nominees show up.
So, okay, so let me talk about why I remembered this movie, and it wasn't the Oscar nominee.
Say something, I'm giving up on you.
One of the main characters in this, one of the most memorable characters in this movie is played by Chris Lemke. I believe his name is Rex in the movie, and Chris Lemke is our resident asshole, skeptic, goth boy. You've seen him
yes.
in... Yes. You've
Here he is. There he is.
You've seen him in Final Destination 3. You've seen him in Ginger Snaps. Those are his two most memorable roles, but he plays a very similar character in this one. The cameo is a yellow-haired Bradley Cooper.
Yes.
Pre-Star is Born, pre-Hangover, pre-Midnight Meat Train, if we want to go into Bradley Cooper's horror
absolutely.
career. And then I think there's a couple of other like semi-familiar faces. I feel like the woman from Cleopatra 2525 is there. Do you remember Cleopatra 2525?
I do not.
In the year 2525, there are women with the will to survive.
Oof, that was a WB show that I think lasted a season, and it was a good time. We'll talk about that another time. So yeah, it's not really where these people are forced to play against each other, because the idea is that they all have to kind of stick together. But then once they see things happening, a lot of them think that other people are responsible for it, whether there's a prank going on or did the producer send this or not? People start losing their minds, and then it turns out, this is the big twist, and this is why I really dig this, and everything started flooding back to me as we were watching it, is that they are a part of what is essentially an online snuff film, where, as we kind of talked about before, Kyle saying you have a tolerance or an obsession to watch these people put themselves through this inexplicable torture to get out alive, whatever the circumstances are for that specific movie. That's definitely his film kink. My film kink is narrative snuff.
Narrative snuff.
Narrative snuff. And this is, I think, one of the closest movies that I'll get to seeing what I want from narrative snuff.
Serbian film.
Serbian film for sure.
Yes.
And Cannibal Holocaust. But
And Greenlight.
Greenlight, which is a recent movie that we absolutely loved, starring Chase Williamson. Cue the collage.
Cue the enormous collage that we spent so long creating.
But I that's what I really look for, and I feel like it's always done better in psychological thrillers and not necessarily straight horror, like
absolutely.
8mm.
Yes.
But then we kind of have like Flower, Flesh and Blood and Guinea Pig and then Men Behind the Sun and that sort of thing. And I love that, don't get me wrong, but
Less
it doesn't,
narrative.
yeah, there's no
Right.
narrative there. So you have Serbian film, you have Greenlight, and you have My Little Eye. I feel like these are the closest horror films that come to what I want from narrative snuff.
Yeah.
And
So we're going to combine our efforts, and we'll be writing the first ever narrative snuff game show torture porn movie to combine everything that we really want to see over and over again.
donate to our Kickstarter now.
Yes. The only way to fund a movie anymore.
Say something, I'm giving up on you.
So I really dig this one because it coming out of 2002, it's very nostalgic.
Yes.
I don't know if America Online is in the movie, but I feel like something that looks like
It's
America
gotta be.
Online is in the movie.
There's a dial tone somewhere. Yes.
Especially when like they find out that they're being streamed online. These people find out that they're being streamed online. They're supposed to murder each other, and that it's like a really high paywall to get in. And then at that point, it's like, oh, Bradley Cooper was in on it. Oh, somebody in the house is in on it. And then they start getting hunted down, and people are dying off screen. And then you can kind of argue there's that one character. I think it's the guy who gets the funeral. You can't say invitation. I'm trying to find another word for invitation. Funeral invitation.
Funeral
We
invitation.
invite you to our funeral.
Yep.
Yeah.
For the
Notice,
grandfather?
I guess. Yeah. I
Yes,
think it's
yes.
that guy. He hangs himself. So I guess then you can start.
Oh yeah, because he made a dove or a swan, and then the woman made fun of him. Yeah.
So you can kind of
So he hung himself.
yeah, you can kind of like
Bullying is bad.
And I was dangerously uncoordinated in sports, so that didn't help.
the guy who gets the funeral nose. You could kind of argue that maybe he didn't kill himself, that maybe they killed him to start throwing things around in the house and
You could make a
setting people
theory, yeah.
off. So I find it's
We know he was a
really-
sad boy though.
He was a sad boy, so it could go either way.
He made a nice thing out of clay. It was a dove, right? A swan. It's like, here's my nice dove swan.
This is where the memory starts to go. But it's a great time. I really like the way that it ends. There's no real happy ending. These people get to go on and continue to make snuff online.
Right.
And Bradley Cooper is still involved. And I just think it's a really fun, underrated flick from that time.
I don't remember who directed it, but it has a visual flair to it. They're like the director. There's some interesting shots.
Yeah.
I will definitely say.
There's some interesting shots because it kind of starts out as found footage where you're watching things through the cameras in the house.
right.
And that's another thing that I'd like to bring up is that this movie has a very interesting DVD release in that there were two different ways to watch the film where I think it like depended on what region you were into. You might have gotten
Right.
a different region. But you could watch the movie with commentary from Bradley Cooper and the other snuff film operative character
That rules.
in the movie as they were talking to each other. And then there was...
So they're playing their characters the whole time?
Yeah. And then I think there was one other way, but it was like an then the other way that you could watch the movie was as if you were on the website and you had paid
Cool.
to be one of those. So that's a really cool gimmick.
Yeah.
We don't have a lot of DVDs like that anymore. People do not put effort into Blu-rays the way that they used to, and I really appreciate that because it adds a different layer to the movie.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, that probably adds an entire new layer to the lore and the backstory of who this gang is that's watching it and the kind of person that you are when you're paying to see this. Like, yeah, there's probably I would love to see both of those.
Yeah.
Things that not really irked me, but I would put under the negative for the movie are I felt like the third act kind of just went, all right, fuck it, like the spoilers for everything forever. The guy's just like, oh, we're in a game, fuck it, I'm killing everybody, and from that point on, it has like a very paint by numbers finish, until you have like the last little twist of the cop being in on it also, and then blammo, and everybody dies.
And
But-
it is a very slow burn up until that like they really spend a lot of time
Yes.
showing you the characters and showing you them in an environment where they're very comfortable
Yeah.
and they're still like, oh, we got another week in this house, is gonna suck, but
But
you know,
do you
we're here.
feel like it all inevitably built to this guy snapping? Did it does it? Because for me, I don't think it fits. I don't think the character's broken down enough to the point where that happens.
That's fair.
You know, like it's just kind of like, oh, this is the surprise of the movie,
Yeah.
and now we're just fucking gunning it for the end of our movie,
Yeah.
and this dude's just gonna kill everybody.
Yeah.
Yeah.
By no means do I think that this is a work of art.
No.
But I think it's
entertaining.
for what it is. It's very well done. As I said, this is what I love to see it, folks.
Say something, I'm giving up on you.
I think this is definitely one of the better ones out of all of the movies that we watched. Even if it doesn't technically fit dinner party.
There's a dinner table in there somewhere.
Yeah, they do sit at the dinner table a couple of times. I do remember that.
Sold.
But it's a good time. I would recommend it. I think it's a little underrated. I definitely think there are horror films from 2002 or the early 2000s that got way more attention that fucking suck.
For sure.
And this one could definitely be revisited. Like I said, very cool little Bradley Cooper cameo.
we had fun with it, yeah.
Yeah, I recommend it.
It's nice to watch Bradley go a little insane
For sure.
and not just play hot guy.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which brings us to our next movie, which is Bitter Feast. Now, Bitter Feast came out in 2010. 2010. Wouldn't have gotten that one. And it's about a chef who has a bit of a meltdown and has a daytime TV show where he wants to be appreciated for his art, his ability, and he continues to just get undercut because that's what sells ratings and high-roaded and mocked. And he in this point in his career that's so delicate with a new TV show being produced and everything.
Your steak is overcooked.
He gets one bad review from our Joshua Leonard.
Our Joshua Leonard.
Ours, he's ours. We called it. Dibs. You guys can't have him.
Where's the collage?
Here it is. Here's the collage.
I feel like I'm Hillary looking at the balloons with Bill.
Yeah. Joshua Leonard in this movie is a super dick who lost his son, daughter, lost his they.
3, 2, 1.
Oh. I think it's his son. It's all falling apart now. He lost his son and tells his girlfriend wife, I'm drunk. Amy, hi.
Amy from who does a fantastic job in A Horrible Way to Die.
Yeah.
You're Next.
Oh, fuck yeah, that's right.
And
Thank you for reminding me
the
of this.
Pet Cemetery remake.
Aww. Sad.
So he tells his girlfriend.
So he tells his girlfriend of Your Next fame that I don't really care if you stay or if you die, and to let me drink.
Say something.
And
Fucking
kinda,
king.
Yeah, she kind of fucks off for a bit, and Joshua Leonard finds himself kidnapped by a very angry chef. And this kind of fits into our dinner party situation because the chef continues to grab every review that Joshua Leonard has written and read it back to him and then task him with different courses on if you can make eggs perfectly, then you can eat those eggs. And if you can't, then you're fucking worthless and I'll yell at you and definitely call you a cunt a lot.
Which is good.
Which is great. We love
Yeah,
it.
we love that.
I wish we could remember his name. Oh yeah, it's here. Yes. He's really good in this movie.
He's fantastic, yeah.
This man that we'll dub over one of us saying. For sure. Yeah, great villain. He's a lot of fun. And he continues to make Joshua Leonard our Joshua Leonard, continues to make Joshua Leonard go through different trials, like cooking a perfect steak medium rare, although a fucking perfect steak is rare. And if you can't do it, then again, he's tortured and burned and hit with a pan and all this fun stuff. I like this one a lot. I think this one's a lot of fun. It starts to do something that I've come to be annoyed by, and I think it's in this screenwriting process where you look at your script and you go, oh, I don't know if this is enough to fill time, and you add in the B story of what we know famously to be, what's his name? Scatman Crothers. Yes, pretend I said that flawlessly. Which we know to be Scatman Crothers. The B story where somebody is coming to rescue the lot of them and continues to put together the pieces and the clues. And every time something is going really well with your A story and it's a lot of fun, enticing, intense, riveting, you cut to a guy that's looking at papers and figuring things out. And it's just to edge things along. And then finally when he shows up, gets the fucking axe in the back or the front or whatever it is. In this movie, it's Larry Fessenden?
Fessenden, I think.
We will figure that out. In this movie, it is Larry
Fessenden.
So we love Larry.
We love Larry.
We
He's great.
absolutely love Larry. He's written a lot of great stuff. He's
Directed,
starred. He's really multi-talented.
Yeah.
I love his work.
He's the fucking go-home in We Are Still Here. It brings the fucking movie to... Yeah.
Yeah.
He rules.
Until Dawn, he had a
Yeah,
hand
that's
in,
right.
which is really cool. What he and Josh Leonard just did something recently. It was their Frankenstein movie, Depraved.
Right. Depraved, yes.
Which was great. To me, it feels very out of like you could just.
Are we talking about the Scatman Crothers B story?
You could just take him completely out of this movie and it wouldn't have any effect on the story whatsoever.
Right. And that's not a slight at Larry. He plays his character great. It's just an unnecessary situation that when you spend so much time on the B story away from angry chef yelling at a dude who can't make eggs, which is so much fun, it just feels like, oh, all right, can we get back to that, please? And because what you're left with is not enough time for these trials and these courses. So Larry gets the axe in the back. Spoilers forever. And then you're just kind of left with, oh, okay, moving on. Now hopefully we can stay with our main story here. And then, unfortunately, like so many others, this movie... I'll do that again because I just grabbed something out of the air.
I thought it was pretty cool.
Oh, okay. It stays. Unfortunately, like many others, it falls apart in the third act where you have the chef kidnap the girlfriend, finds her, brings her in, and you're like, okay, shit, now things are going to get interesting because it got to a point where Joshua Leonard was no longer threatened by the idea of being murdered because he doesn't really care about his life, and he's decided, fuck this guy, I'm not going to let him get the best of me. So this is a great place for your fucking act break, and now you have your third act coming in about all the things that he has to make Joshua Leonard do, or a back and forth torture fest between him deciding, okay, can this one do this better than this one? Oh, then this one will be punished. And it really could have come to a head there in a really interesting way. But unfortunately, everything falls off the rails really quickly. It becomes, man is the strongest game. What's the fucking thing I'm thinking of? The world's something game.
Oh, I know you're talking about the book.
Yeah. That's
Which is like
not helpful, but it'll be right here.
we all read it in English class.
Yeah.
And
The world's strongest game, the world's
it's
something
something
game.
like that. And it's like basically the
Rat race. Starring John Cleese.
It's the precursor to every single battle royale
Right.
Hunger Games
Exactly.
that ever was.
It becomes Hungry Games. That's what it is. Delicious. I've never seen any of them. I have no news.
It's good.
I'm sure it's cute. Philip Seymour Hoffman's in one of them, isn't he?
I think he's in a couple, but it doesn't matter.
Okay. Never mind then. So, yeah, it all comes to a head where now we have to hunt the girlfriend and Joshua Leonard. Man, it would be great if we just decided if we were going to call the characters by their names or by their actors'
Well, so
names.
Joshua Leonard is always Joshua Leonard for me just because I love Blair Witch Project. And obviously that's what made him him.
But he's considerably more dickish in this movie.
Yeah, for sure. But whenever I see him in anything, it's like, oh, it's Joshua Leonard. I really loved Unsane. It was one of my favorite horror movies of 2018, 2017, whenever that came out. And he's the antagonist in that, and he does a fantastic job. I couldn't tell you what his name is. I'm calling him Joshua Leonard because that's what I know him as. His cameo in the first Hatchet, it's Joshua Leonard. And which I think is really funny is because every movie that I've seen him in since, there is some scene where he's in the woods.
Right.
Like Hatchet, he's in the woods. Well, he's in the swamp, but whatever, he's in the woods.
Counts.
He runs through the woods in Bitter Feast.
Yes.
He runs through the woods in Unsane, spoiler alert, because Kyle hasn't seen Unsane yet.
Sorry.
But yeah, Joshua Leonard, please let him out of the woods. It's been so many
Stuck
years.
in the woods.
Yeah, let him out.
With Daniel.
Why did everyone just assume it was okay to follow me?
So the thing that kind of rubs me the wrong way about the third act is you take a story that's so personal of critic versus artist that should have remained and maintained that the whole movie into the third act, and then you, spoiler alert again, you dispose of Joshua Leonard almost off screen, and then you make the ending moments of the movie about the artist, the chef, versus the girlfriend who really wasn't a piece of this puzzle the whole time. And
yeah, the gripe wasn't with her. It was the fact that this guy wrote a bad review and he felt that his entire career downfall now was on Joshua Leonard.
Yeah, and that's where your meat and potatoes was for that movie. Yeah. That's where everything interesting was. All commentary about who is anyone to badmouth something that can create on their own and all that is kind of just thrown out for a reminiscent ending of something that happened to the chef in the beginning of his life. And for it to end there, which is a cute note, but it just could have been done better keeping with the theme and the real conflict of the movie.
It feels tacked on to me, yeah.
It just feels rushed, for sure.
Yeah.
But otherwise, it's a fucking great time.
Yeah, it's creative. There's not a lot of chef related horror movies that I can think of. When I think of like cooking, yes. Mm-hmm. But when I think about cooking and horror, it's like, all right, there's Cannibal,
and
Sweeney Todd. You're forced to eat the human meat.
Shout out to George Hearn and Angela Lansbury on fucking crushing Sweeney Todd, and not Tim Burton with his dog shit version with Johnny Depp who can't sing. And Helena Bonham Carter,
his ex-wife,
who for whatever reason, because she's been on before, but like her fucking comedic timing is way off in that movie.
I used to love that movie when I was in like middle school. I went to Hot Topic and I bought the tote bag.
No. Well, my mom like took us to Sweeney Todd for like my life.
Yeah, because your mom's a cultured woman.
She is.
We love her.
Yeah, she's swell. She took me to that and the Mikado, which, oops, Gilbert and Sullivan can't exist anymore. Sorry, guys. It's racist. Sorry, guys. Satire is misunderstood and racist. However, so when that movie came out, and I was like, oh, we'll see. Johnny Depp can't be a baritone, but hey, we'll see what he's got. And then they fucking cut the ballad of Sweeney Todd. Come on. No. Bad.
Bitter Feast is a good time. Let's find out what our next movie is.
Which brings us to...
We're going to consult the cat phone.
Which brings us to the cat phone.
Say something, I'm giving up on you.
Hunger. Still in 2010. So before we get into Hunger, I just wanted to talk about how the next block of movies has been 2010 through 2013. So My Little Lie is really the only one that is removed from this 4-year block. Yeah, so for whatever reason, we just really were into that for 4 years. Hunger.
Let's get back there.
We have to go back!
Hunger, before we get into it, I just want to start off by saying this is my least favorite movie.
She hated it.
I think this might have been one of the most infuriating movies that I've ever watched.
I don't hate it.
In my entire life. This is where we disagree. We don't disagree very often.
Mm-hmm.
I think we will have differing opinions sometimes, but I think
Yes.
for the most part, if I say, oh, I really liked this about this, or you'll say, oh, I have a problem with that, we'll still kind of agree on how we feel about it as a whole.
Yes.
We have very little that we go, oh, this sucks. And you're like, oh, no, this is great. To the point where we actually had somebody, I think it was David Gibson.
Yes.
Shout out to
Shout
him
out to David Gibson.
and his podcast.
Sadistic Cinema, coming soon to YouTube with first guest Fred Vogel. Follow them on Facebook at Sadistic Cinema Community.
I actually said to Kyle, oh, you and Blaze should review something that you both feel very strongly about, but in the opposite way. And Kyle was like, I don't know. What
we
could
can't
pick.
find it. It would be Marvel movies.
Yeah, I mean, I don't dislike more, because this is the thing, is that people are going to show up at my home and they're going to come with pitchforks and they're going to be ready to murder me because I said shit about Marvel. But I don't dislike Marvel. I just don't think, I think that Endgame is a coward's movie.
You don't
and
think
that
it has-
Infinity War is a work of art, and you all fucked it up.
You don't think it has balls, but then I make the argument that it's for children. And so whatever push into a controversial area it brings us is like, it should be welcomed with open arms because we're lucky to get at least that. Like, at the end of the day, the heroes are going to win because it's a comic book.
At the end of the day, I don't fucking care. They should have stayed dead. Anyway.
Moving on. Going back.
Bon appetit.
So, Hunger. Hunger is about people who wake up in a tunnel of some sorts, underground bunker, whatever you want to call it. Have absolutely no idea how they got there, completely in the dark. None of them know each other. And they realize that they have no food. The only thing that they have is water in these jars in a separate chamber, corridor, whatever you would call it, in their prison, so to speak. They try to find ways out. They see skeletons and dead bodies in an area that's kind of hollowed out. It looks like it could have been a way out, but it's still blocked.
Yeah.
And these people suddenly realize that they are imprisoned by somebody who's watching them on cameras throughout the underground area, and that he wants them to eat each other because that's the only way that they can survive, is if they have human meat, because there's no food coming through. There's one sort of we could potentially be saved moment when two teenagers are fucking in the middle of the woods, and they hear them and they're about to be like, oh, let's see what we have to do, and then this guy figures it out and comes and sends them into the lake.
Yeah, Sean Bean gets mad and disposes of them quite quickly.
And there are flashbacks to why this man is the way that he is,
The scientist.
I really think that's a stretch.
It's a description in the
It's
credits.
the description. This is where we really disagree about this movie because I don't think that this character is fleshed out enough.
I feel things are pretty straightforward, where she feels that they're very vague.
Yeah.
Like,
and I think that you can put them together afterwards, but it's like, it's not enjoyable.
like, do you want to?
I don't want to. I do want to eat this.
It's okay. Like, yeah. My argument is that okay. Like, the scientist went through a traumatic experience when he was a kid. Blah blah blah. Spoilers. Blah blah blah. Eating my own mother in a car, and it was forced to deal with the terrible, unfortunate reality of nature, where it's kill or be killed, and the survival of the fittest.
And the other thing is, though, is that I think we kind of decided that he really wasn't in there long enough to
Before he
have
ate
to
his
have
mom?
done that.
He's a
When you
kid
looked at
that.
the bodies.
Are we talking about?
Say something, I'm giving up on you.
Was he not in there long enough, or were they? Yeah, he's a kid. Maybe he didn't know any better, and he's less.
He's like, maybe I'm
He's
gonna
like,
eat
I
my
don't know if
mom."
I'm gonna be here for like 9 days. I might as well eat my mom now, an hour in. So, yeah, sure.
Because that's what I think about when I'm 7 years old. Is God forbid I get into a car accident
Yeah.
with my mom.
Well, maybe he was mad at her. He's like, "Oh, way to go,
This
mom!
fucking
I'm
bitch."
fucking taking her arm. Let's go." Yeah.
It's really appropriate that I'm eating all of my olives during hunger.
During hunger. Yeah. During hungry.
Yeah.
Yes.
I
yes.
really just feel like this movie has nothing special about it, and the gore and the torture elements and the character breakdown elements, there's nothing, or the dialogue, there's nothing about it that sets it apart from any of the others. And you can say that
True.
a lot of these movies have a very simple premise, and you can't expect much from them, but I think that maybe this will change as we start to explore them, but I think every single other movie in this list has something that sets it apart from the rest. And this movie doesn't. And I think it tries to have that, but I think that, like I said, it's a stretch and it's not fleshed out enough.
Well, like in these bottle scenarios, that's fair. Because in these bottle scenarios, it's like,
Say something, I'm giving up on you.
you need to rely on characters to make somebody care about your movie if everybody's going to be in one room the whole time.
Right.
And so when you have a movie like this that characters aren't fleshed out or interesting or creative or anything like that,
Right.
It you tend to be looking at your watch, and nobody has a watch anymore.
I actually do have a Fitbit.
Oh, she is the Fitbit.
I am the Fit bitch.
Yes. But yeah, so in that regard, we had to make our own fun of this movie, which we never have an issue with doing. But it would be nice if the movie kind of helped us along with that idea.
Yeah.
Yeah, Hunger, not one of our favorites, but I think it's a successful, small, low budget little premise that works out. I don't think anything is questionable, but I think it's just, I think more could have been cracked open from it.
Yeah, for sure. It's not something that I want to spend a ton of time talking about even now. I mean, I feel like the anger has I feel like the anger is worn off from when I watched it.
Yes.
But
Yeah, you were mad.
I was furious.
Yeah.
I was ready to
We like-
throw punches.
We like that guy that made bugs fuck and then ate
He
people
was
for
the
no reason.
only interesting part of the whole movie is there's a character who finds a bunch of bugs.
He makes him
and
fuck.
he makes him fuck because that's what's going to keep him sane, and then he gets upset when somebody eats them, which
12
I mean,
stars.
like, I get it. It's the only
That guy
interesting, funny part of the movie, and then the rest of it is just these characters who are very basic
Mm-hmm.
and just very boring, and like their dude who is there to create chaos.
There was like Billy Joe Armstrong in there for no
There-
reason. That's
yeah.
a bit of a dick for no. Yeah.
And he's, the character who's supposed to make some shit happen.
Yes.
And let tension flare up, but it's, I don't know.
Yeah. I do like there. We'll end it by saying, I do like that there was one thing in the movie where I think it's creative for the scientists to be exploring how long it takes everybody to break and to be able to orchestrate a moment where they think they'll be getting out because they're looking at the clock, and then the clock strikes down and he comes in closer because that moment is what he's cared about the most, is to really see what happens when your last ounce of hope is ripped away from you.
Yeah.
Which I like.
I mean, I guess with the way that they show you these flashbacks is that there's really no precursor to that in his own life, and a lot of what he's doing, I'm assuming we're supposed to believe that it's all based on what he experienced in his own life. That's why he's doing that. That's why he's constantly recreating the situation with other people. That didn't seem to happen with him. It wasn't like, oh, I only have to wait X amount of days until I'm rescued from the car wreck with my mom.
Yeah.
He didn't have that.
No,
So-
he's not creating the exact same scenario.
But I don't feel like, I mean, I guess it's plausible that he would do that. He would, be a scientist and try out different things. But
I won't
don't
argue.
think it's I don't think it's illustrated. I shouldn't use the word explain. I don't think it's illustrated well enough to be like, this is what I'm doing on my second try. I'm going to try it out this way and see how people lose hope when it's not like, oh, I'm so bored with my experiments, I'm going to try something new this time around.
No, that's not really explored.
No.
And there is an element of speculation required for where the movie's going as far as this character and what he's trying to relay with his experiments. But I don't think it's so abstract that it can't be captured or
I
figured
just don't
out.
care enough to put it together. I don't think it's a memorable enough movie to want to put those pieces together. It'd be one thing if there were really great characters.
Yeah, there is.
Or there was really great dialogue. There's nothing about it that stands out that makes me say, I'm going to put these pieces together. I'm just going to look at it as a relic of this genre that I don't give a shit about. And
Hunger.
time can forget.
Check it out on Amazon Prime. Yes, The Perfect Host. What a shame. I really like this one for a little bit, but we should go over what it's about. So we have a con man, a swindling asshole con man, on the run from the cops, breaks into the absolute wrong house. Almost like a Don't Breathe scenario.
Yes,
yeah.
but you don't really know that until way later on.
Right.
Yeah.
So the house that he breaks into is none other than absolute Frasier legend David Hyde Pierce.
It's a legend in general.
Legend in general,
Tony
yes.
Award winner, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
And he hams it the fuck up in this movie. At first, he plays the victim. He's a very gracious host, much like
He's the perfect host.
one might say. He's the perfect host. For a bit until he starts to be fucked with, and he slips old Mickey into our protagonist antagonist asshole's drink, and then from there you get like 30 to 45 minutes of just an absolute blast of David Hyde Pierce throwing a party by himself, pretending there are other people there.
Right, and you see the perspective from both characters there who are in the house together, where we switch to David Hyde Pierce, and you see everybody that he's imagining at the dinner table.
Full
and
names, everybody has their own personality, and
and then you see
reality when there's just nobody there.
right, and him talking to no one. I think my favorite part is towards the end of the movie where he's fucking in the bathroom.
Yes.
And you see him.
Oh,
yeah,
and he's slapping the ass of nobody.
Yeah.
And he's also, but he's like leaning in and telling the con man to get a look at this broad that he's fucking.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a lot of fun. It's just all of that is a blast. And if we had 2 hours more of that, and then just credits at the end of the party of like David Hyde Pierce, like thanking everybody for coming, and then shutting the door, and then like that's it.
That would have been a great
Fuck,
ending.
like, and then like the guy's just still in the chair, like what the fuck, man, and then just credits. I'd be all about it. Unfortunately for this movie, and I really wanted to give it the benefit of the doubt and just be like, because I watched it. This was a rewatch for me. This was a new one for her.
Yeah.
A lot of these were. I watched a lot of the movies that we're going to be reviewing today. I watched them like years ago, like I guess all back to back to back. So it was hard for me to differentiate what came from which. And when we started this, I was like, hey, listen, I remember this being a really good time, but I remember really disliking the ending. And I hoped that I was wrong, but it's even worse than I remembered.
It's real rough.
You have a not your typical Scatman Crothers B story that bothered us before, but you have one where it's told in flashbacks about the con man's relationship with his girlfriend, and she's sick or something.
She's not sick. She's faking it.
Yeah,
she's
yeah, but
also
there's-
a
but
con
yeah,
man.
you're right.
She's a con woman.
She's a con woman because we treat all cons equally in our society. And then in the height of the tension between David Hyde Pierce and Asshole Con Man, Asshole Con Man, by the way, is played by not Mel Gibson.
I was going to mention that. Yeah, the guy who is in the Lethal Weapon TV series.
For like WC, what is it,
No,
WB?
it's for Fox.
Is it Fox? Okay,
It's
Fox.
for Fox, and he got fired because apparently he just is really hard to work with, but it's like you're not Mel Gibson, and obviously Mel Gibson has his own problems, but it's like you don't have the status symbol to do
Right.
this just because you're playing Mel Gibson.
Yeah. Yeah, there's bits of like art imitating life, imitating art, imitating
Right.
life, with the guy playing Mel Gibson playing Riggs.
No.
Essentially, yes.
But
So
he does a good job in this movie.
yeah, he's fun. The script does him no favors as far as the plot, unfortunately, because everything is hunky dory for a bit, and then they make a deal where David Hyde Pierce decides, hey man, I'll let you go if you can beat me in chess. And then everything turns into like Ocean's 11 with like shitty swingy jazz Ocean's 11 music. And you see that the con man is an amazing chess player, but like it doesn't fit his character at
And
all.
also then we have the flashbacks of him teaching his girlfriend how to play chess in the bathtub.
Right.
Okay, so what's the best strategy?
95-pound Chinese man with $160 million behind this door. Let's get him out.
And it, like all of that, all the chess stuff comes in the same 10 minutes. Like the whole chess backstory, the decision for David Hyde to just randomly suggest after like a conga line and all this other shit to just play chess.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just and then but he stole the money and he still has it, and then David Hyde Pierce there's a fucking twist, spoilers again, and he's a cop. And David Hyde Pierce
is
the whole time is a cop.
Is the cop.
But he's not just a cop. He's like police chief. He's like lieutenant.
Right, and then and then it turns out that like everything that he did to Riggs was fake Riggs, excuse me.
He put
because he likes
makeup
special
on him.
effects makeup, like movie makeup. He's
Right.
an enthusiast.
The whole time he's referring to his catalog, his photo album showing Shitty Riggs. That's his name now.
Shitty Riggs.
Showing Shitty Riggs all these photos of all these other people that he's killed before. And each photo is marked at a certain time of night and all this stuff. And you're watching the body get worse. And like, and then you start seeing it all these a couple days later decomposing, whatever. And
Yeah, it's supposed to be his trophy.
right, exactly. And so the whole time trophy chest.
No, is that what was that?
A
trophy.
Are you
trophy
talking
cabinet?
about-
Trophy cabinet is what I was looking for. Thank you.
Yes.
Sorry, continue.
No. And so the whole time you're referring to this, and David Hyde Pierce is taking photos of him and putting it in his book. And then it reaches the time of night that it said, like, oh, this is when everybody dies in this book. And Riggs just wakes up in the alley with, like, special effects makeup over, like, his throat being slashed. And they let him go. But he's the police lieutenant. And it's like, at what point will all of this horrible... It just...
Right, and then it becomes the cat and mouse chase.
Say something, I'm giving up on you.
The guy's girlfriend, as he realizes that she duped him
yeah.
for the bank robbery that they did together because she was sick and needed money to pay for her cancer treatments or something. But
in the end, she was the real grifter.
And then...
Because there's a little grifter in all of us.
It's really bizarre because then David Hyde Pierce helps him escape at the end in the parking garage, and then they all pin it on the shitty girlfriend. It's just...
I don't even remember that.
I think that's the end of it. The thing is that, like, this is a fantastic time because David Hyde Pierce has the time of his life in this role. He does a fantastic job. And
there's not much better than watching David Hyde Pierce just do a conga line with himself.
And then there's the whole dance number to Car Wash.
Yeah, he's standing on a table, and it's awesome.
There's that. There's the scene in the pool where Shitty Riggs is just drugged out of his mind, and the neighbor comes over, and he's like, no, he's drunk, and he's got the Creature from the Black Lagoon mask on. It's just a really fun ride up until the unnecessary twist. And
all three of them.
I think that's... I'm not really sure if we've kind of explained how we don't like a lot of the times when these movies try to throw in a twist, because 9 times out of 10, they don't stay the course, and 9 times out of 10, the twist that people throw in there because, we gotta do something new because otherwise we're just one of the other dinner party torture movies. And I get that. And I'm not saying don't take risks, because if you bring something new to the genre, that's awesome. But a lot of them, it makes zero sense whatsoever. And it's just twist for the sake of being a twist. And that's not writing to me. I would much rather watch something that is more of the ordinary, more of what I've seen before, but at least is consistent.
Right. It stays the course. That's exactly it. Because when we're trying to watch all these movies, that's what we're looking for. And like it really is a fun premise to have a bunch of people being forced to turn against each other. You start seeing certain ones realize, okay, it's time to stop the niceties. Teamwork isn't going to get us anymore. It's about survival. And then you see cutthroat characters coming out, and then it's also fun to dream up these kind of scenarios like Bitter Feast and things like that, where it's like, make the eggs correctly or you don't get to eat.
That's too bad.
So... yeah, and they don't stay the course, and that's the most interesting aspect to everything, is the premise of this is the game now, and there needs to be an ending to the game. Otherwise, you've wasted all of our time by just having a cop-out of, somebody escapes, and then there's a chase, and then everybody dies. Yeah. It's like, you promise us a game, where's the game? And at some point, it just feels like lazy writing.
Right. Yeah,
or selfish, like a writer or a director has to put their own twist or their mark on the genre.
Right. And it just
sometimes it's just not necessary.
It's not exactly. Sometimes it's not necessary, and it's about serving the story and not serving yourself and saying, "Look at what I can do with this fantastic twist." It's like, no.
Right.
But this movie I really love. Like, it's not even like, I enjoy it. I love this movie up until the twist. And then it's just, I really wish that there was a way to just cut it short, but I don't think that there is, because then even before the end, it gets a little wonky.
Yeah.
But,
well, yeah, because we were in the middle of saying, like, this is 5 stars. This is a 5-star movie.
Yeah.
David Hyde Pierce is having the time of his life. It's 5 stars. And it's just like, the longer it goes, the more... just unfortunate twists and turns arrive that just don't fit the story, and they don't fit the mood or anything like that.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's a shame. But that's the perfect host, I think.
Yeah.
Lighten up, John. The party.
Boy howdy, it would seem like we're out of time. Thanks for joining us for part 1 of our Top Cult Dinner Party. We're sorry for the bait and switch, but the remainder of our 8-movie meltdown and our inevitable hot sauce pain-inducing conclusion are to come when we return in the next episode of Top Cult.